Hi everyone, we'll start shortly. 2 more minutes and then we'll begin. Please have a pen and paper by your side because you would need to solve questions, and that is how you are basically preparing for the test, right? So you would need a pen and paper to solve the questions along we go, and I'll give you some dedicated time to solve those questions. So everybody, please solve the questions as much as you can while looking at the stream, while looking at the session. Do not think that okay, I'll just look at the solution and I'll become good in it. That's not how we become good in things, right? We need to first go try to solve it, and then after that look at the solution. In case we are able to solve it, then definitely look at the solution, because you'll gain something extra. You might gain something like, what is the different way, what is another way that I could have solved this question. And in case, let's say, you're not able to solve the question, then you definitely have to look at the solution, right? For people who might not have much context, right? Even if you do not have much context for these topics that we are learning, or the topics that we'll be solving questions for, definitely you can ask me questions as we go along, right? Feel free to ask me questions. I'm looking at the chat constantly, right? So any questions that you have, put it in the chat. Anything that you have in your mind that okay, can you please tell me this as well on this, please feel free to ask, right? Any questions, I'll try to answer as many as I can. And any other questions related to data science and data analytics, how are the on-campus placements, how are the off-campus placements, how do you make it much more easier for you when you're going for off-campus, and what are the differences between on-campus and off-campus, everything of these sorts will also be covered. If you want a few questions on these, I can answer those, right? If you have a few questions on these. So we'll begin in 2 minutes from now. I'll just have a glass of water. My throat's bad today. Have a glass of water. All right, if you can hear me, I think you can hear me because I was just checking it from my phone as well. But if you can all hear me, please send a few messages in the chat. Maybe from which college are you from, maybe from which campus are you from, or what are you doing, BTech, MTech, something or the other would be good to have, right? Because I want the session to be interactive. I'll be giving a question with options. You'll be answering those questions in the chat. We'll see in the end. You can keep a tracker for yourself. You can check, okay, I get 10 out of 20, or maybe let's say 15 out of 20, or 20 out of 20. You can, give yourself the marks, and as we will proceed, you can see how your marks are improving or are they declining. And later on, you can also figure out, okay, this is my weak topic. So please make sure that you are giving yourself marks and everything you're assigning yourself. Otherwise, the problem is, if you're not tracking yourself, then you are not doing the most important part for tests. That is the problem, right? So it's okay even if you're not giving, let's say, live test right now. That's completely fine. If you're not giving time bound test, that's completely fine. But I would advise you that you should start giving those as well. But with this as well, even if you're not giving those live test or the time bound test, while we are solving questions over here, maybe make a tally mark. Okay, put topics: aptitude, statistics, LR, or let's say DI, SQL, Python, right? Machine learning, deep learning. And then in the tally marks, put how many questions did you solve till now and how many did you get right, right? So this way, at least you'll be able to understand, okay, this is my weakness. If you want to go one more further, create one page entirely for statistics, one page entirely for Python, one page entirely for machine learning. And on that page, write these subtopics: distributions, for example, in statistics, hypothesis testing, errors and hypothesis. And then answer, okay, these many questions I have solved till now, and in tally marks format, these many I have correctly solved. So this way you'll be able to track yourself. And with this, what will be the best part of this is, you will stop wasting your time on your strengths. You will just quickly go through your strengths, you will identify your weaknesses, and then you can easily identify, okay, I'm weak in this topic, let me give 1 hour to this and get better in it. So any question that you will see in the online assessments, in the interviews, you'll be able to easily solve those, because you have that confidence, you understand your weaknesses, you worked on them, you have the confidence, you'll be able to get them. And I personally when I was in the placement session of my college, I'm from IIT BHU, right? When I was there in the placement session, during the placement session, I used to do this every day. Even if I'm solving a question in a time bound test, even if I'm solving a question through some practice sheet or maybe some online resource, I always used to do this. And what happened in the end? The maximum shortlist at IIT BHU, 26 out of 39. And the second person was way far. He or she had, I think they had around 19 or 18 shortlists that year in data science and data analytics, right? So that's the reason why I'm telling you all that please make sure that you're tracking yourself. यार अपने आप से सच नहीं बोलेंगे ना, अपने आप को नहीं देखेंगे ना, तो फिर क्या फायदा? The whole world, everybody in this world is free and has that time to judge everyone else, but not ourselves. We don't do that. So let's start doing that first, and then इतने बड़े हो जाएंगे तब देखेंगे किसको जज करना है, कैसे करना है. उससे पहले let's judge ourselves. Where are we currently? Let's be honest to us. The world out there is more than enough to give an ultimatum. You are this, you are that. But by analyzing ourselves, by judging ourselves each day, those comments, those things might not, matter too much, because you will actually know yourself the best. And that is how everybody in this universe grows, right? So all these questions, for example, Anubhav asked me, I am new to this. Can I prepare for 3 to 4 months? I mean, like, you can even prepare in 1 month, right? You can even prepare in one day. You can complete ML in one day. But the problem is, Anubhav, how much in depth are you going into those topics, right? How much in depth are you going into those topics? If you're not going to much depth, right, then there is no point. You need to go into depth, and that depth is, you will soon understand with the questions that we'll solve. Today we'll begin by few easy and moderate questions, and as we go along, complete these sessions, then we'll start also solving many more tough and in-depth questions as well. Questions directly from research papers, questions directly from places, from universities and different places that we have correlated so far, right? So we'll keep doing all of that as well, right? So I think now let's begin. I'll change the screen. We'll begin with the first question. Let me not show you all the questions, right? Let's just first go to the first question. Okay. All right, so let me know when first question is visible. I'll begin the timer. All right, so put in yes when you see the first question, everyone, and I'll begin the timer. All right, so now I'm beginning the timer. You have approximately 2 questions. Your time starts now. 2 minutes to solve this particular question. It's a question from probability, and probability and statistics are very closely aligned. I've seen this question many times in many online assessments, also directly asked in interviews as well. And I don't know why students struggle. It's a pretty simple, a pretty easy to solve question. So whenever you've got the answer, you can put the options in the chat. It's a pretty easy to solve question, I feel. All right, you have 1 minute more, everyone. One by 4 is not in the options. Cool. 11 by 32, maybe. Good. Yes. All right, 50 more seconds. People who are getting B or 1 by 4, 1 by 2, something else, kindly have a look at what you are trying to solve. All right. B, D. All right, I see the confusion is between B and D. 20 more seconds. Oh, sorry. 10 more seconds. I'm giving you extra 10 more seconds. If anybody has left. Cool. So now let's start solving this particular question. It's a pretty simple question. So can you tell me, can you think about what will be the total outcomes? As we understand that probability is nothing but it's the total, it's the favorable outcomes, the number of favorable outcomes upon your total outcomes, right? So can you explain me what are the total outcomes first? If you can quickly tell me what are the total outcomes. How many total outcomes are there? Right. So you have got 64 total outcomes. Correct. And I'll just start writing now. All right. Ignore my scribbling. Right. So if 6 fair coins are tossed, then what is the probability that there will be more heads than tail? So it's pretty simple that we need heads more than tail. And how many heads we can be more than tail? They can be either 4, 5 or 6 heads. And now let's count the number of favorable outcomes. And let's count the total outcomes. So total outcomes will be how much? So there are 2 outcomes of 1 coin. So 2 heads or tails, first coin. Heads or tails, second coin. Third coin, heads or tails. Similarly, it will go till 2 raised to 2, 6 times it will happen. So we have 2 raised to the power 6 outcomes. These are the total outcomes that we have. If you have still not understood, so basically 1 coin has 2 outcomes and all these events are independent. Your first coin toss does not alter the second coin toss. Your first and second coin toss does not alter the third coin toss. And because they are independent, what you can say is n of A intersection B is nothing but n of A multiplied by n of B. So you have 2 outcomes. So similarly for 6, it will be 1 intersection 2 intersection 3 intersection 4 till 6. So 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 till 6. And you will get 2 raised to the power 6 over here. These are your total outcomes. So if anybody asks you in an interview, for example, this is test prep, but if anybody asks you in this interview, just don't say total outcomes are 64 because that every other person giving the interviewer will say. Now what makes you different is that you understand independent events. So talk about independent events. Don't just directly come to a conclusion that there are 64 outcomes. Now you have got the total outcomes, which is 64. Now that you have got the total outcomes, which are 64, let's count the favorable outcomes. So we need what? We need 4 heads. So you have 6 C4. 6 C4. Then how many heads you need now? 5. So 6 C5. Out of 6 coins, picking up 4 coins. Or, because you have an or in between, therefore you are adding. Because you have an or in between, therefore you're adding. Basically, you are taking now, here this is an intersection. It's an and. That is why you're multiplying. Here you are taking or because it can be different kinds of events. 3 different events there are. One that you get 4 heads, then you get 5 heads, then you get 6 heads. Because there are 3 different events and they all cannot occur at the same time. They are what? These events are mutually exclusive. Therefore, you need to take a union or an or, and that is the reason why basically you are adding these. So 64 plus 65 plus 66. So this will be 6 factorial upon 4 factorial upon 2 factorial. I think this will be 6 into 5, 4 will be gone, 3 into 5, 15, plus 65. I think this will be 6 factorial upon 5 factorial upon 1 factorial. This will be nothing but 6. Then what will be the answer? 66. This is 6 factorial into 1 factorial. We already know this is nothing but 1. So 15 plus 16 plus 1 is nothing but 22. So now the answer comes out to be 22 by 64, which is nothing but, if you cut it down, 11 by 32. The answer is D. So what we have understood is not just how to solve this question, but also how to answer this question in an interview. Talk about events, talk about independent events, talk about intersections, unions, and or. That is what makes you a good data scientist or a data analyst or a business analyst or any analyst. Just solving this question like an 11th class student or a 12th class student will not be very helpful for us, because the interviewer will be more impressed when you talk about the aspect of, okay, it's pretty impressive now. That person will be like, you know independent events. Can you, and then the follow-up questions are also easier. That person will ask you, okay, can you tell me now, you know about independent events. Can you tell me how the conditional probability changes when it comes to independent events? A pretty simple question that you all can answer easily. Then that interview might ask you, okay, can you also explain me mutually exclusive and exhaustive events? These terminologies will make your interviews channelize as per your needs. So as we are going with test prep, a few interview tips I'm also giving you. Whenever a probability question comes, you need to do what, everyone? Yes, you can also use symmetry. Kind of, it's actually a symmetry, nothing but symmetry, right? So whenever a question does come for probability, always use terminologies mutually exclusive, exhaustive, independent, intersection, union, right? And or an and. All right, cool. So that's pretty impressive that you all got this answer correct. Now let's move to the next question. I hope it is clear to everyone. Any doubts, anyone? Any doubts? So you can see the answer is also D, 11 by 32, 22 by 64, 11 by 32 is the correct answer. Now let's move to the second question. All right, a pretty good question. And this question, I'm starting the timer, 2 minutes. I've seen this question in tough data analytics where probability and statistics is asked a lot. For example, companies like JP Morgan, right? And this question is also asked in interviews, especially for data science roles. Data analytics, you can see these because data analytics people, you're also expected to know ML these days, right? Because if you know ML, the better you will be compared to others out there, right? All right, so let's try to solve this question. A random forest model consists of 5 decision trees. Each decision tree independently predicts the correct class with a probability of 0.7. What is the probability that a random forest makes the correct prediction? The calculations might be a bit complex. I think the numbers are like that. You may use a calculator in case the calculations are tough. However, I don't advise to use calculator, but I think the numbers here will make the calculation a bit more lengthy. Usually it shouldn't be like that. All right. So today's cutoff, let's make today's cutoff as 2021. All right. Low cutoff today. So we'll slowly increase this cutoff number as well. There are 30 questions and let's put it 23. Feeling 23 today. So let's make it 23. If you score more than 23, you're shortlisted. Let's make it much more like fun and challenging. All right, 10 more seconds, everyone. Anybody with answers? Anybody with any approach? Time's up. Anybody with any approach? Any answers that you might think of? All right, I'll start solving it. Now, this question is not more of machine learning, but actually it's more of probability. Yes, C is the correct answer. Very good, Amoga. Amazing. It's a very good question, and I see not a lot of people did solve it. However, you were able to solve it, so that's pretty nice. All right. All right, so I think it's C, it might be B, I'm not very sure. Right. So now let's understand how random forest model basically works. So random forest model is what? It's a bagging or boosting, everyone. Is random forest bagging or is random forest boosting? Random forest is nothing but a bagging model. And what are we bagging? We are bagging nothing but different decision trees. So one important point over here is that decision tree. Let's talk about different decision trees now. Let's say we have 4 decision trees. These decision trees, how do they work? These decision trees are working dependently or independently. Does the outcome of this decision tree affect this decision tree? It does not, because it is bagging. In case it was boosting, then the errors or the records of this decision tree would affect the decision tree too. But it is not. That means all the decision trees are independent. So in case independent is not mentioned, you need to assume, you need to basically understand it yourself that each decision tree is independent. Now, when we have established that decision trees are independent, we have clearly understood that. Now, how many outcomes do we have for each decision tree? For each decision tree, we have two outcomes. Whether it predicts the outcome correctly, it puts it in the correct class, or it puts it into the, I'll lower it. Shivam, I'll try to lower it. So whether you put it into the correct class, or either you put it in the, the wrong class. So two outcomes. Two outcomes, pass and fail. Now, when you have two outcomes which are pass and fail, can you tell me what kind of distribution can you think of using these two in your mind? Using these two in your mind, what kind of distribution comes to your head? If you remember, binomial distribution takes into consideration Bernoulli trials. N number of Bernoulli trials make a binomial distribution. Bernoulli trials are nothing but an experiment which has two outcomes, either pass or fail. And Bernoulli trials are independent of each other. So I can say each decision tree acts like a Bernoulli trial. And I have how many trials? 5 decision trees. So I am making a binomial distribution of 5 Bernoulli trials. And 5 Bernoulli trials make it nothing but a binomial distribution. Now what does binomial distribution say? Now let's define x. X, which is our nothing but, हमारी x नहीं है, a random variable. And x can take two values. X can take basically 5 values. Number of models predicting the correct class. Number of models predicting the correct class is my x. Basically, number of models, I mean independent decision trees, right? Not the random forest as a model, I mean independent decision trees. Number of decision trees that are making the correct prediction. So x equal to 0 means none of the decision trees are making correct prediction, right? So x equal to 5 means that all of the 5 decision trees are making the correct prediction. Now understand, in random forest, how will random forest make the decision correct? When in any order, out of 5 decision trees, in any order, you pick 3 or 4 or all 5 of them, and they predict the outcome into the correct class. They put the outcome into the correct class. Then that means that my decision tree is that my random forest will give me the correct outcome. Nothing but majority voting. That whatever the maximum will say, we will take the mode, and that will be my answer. Whatever the maximum, most of the decision trees will say, we'll take the mode and put the answer. So now my random forest will take 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Either it is x equal to 5, or it is x equal to 4, or it is x equal to 1. What kind of events are these? Again, these are exclusive. Now, what do we need is probability of x equal to 5, or x equal to 4, or x equal to 3, which becomes, I'm just going to clear the screen now. So which becomes px equal to 5, or which becomes nothing but px, one second, I'll clear this one. So it becomes px, this, so 3, 4 and 5, less than 3 including 3, and greater than or equal to 5. And as we know that this is nothing but 2 CDFs, p of x, or maybe let's just make it much more simple. We know that CDF is nothing but in binomial distribution, the addition of different quantities. It's not we have to integrate because it is a discrete probability distribution. So you just add px equal to 3, px equal to 4, px equal to 5. So x equal to 3 plus px equal to 4 plus px equal to 5. Now, what is the the probability mass function for binomial distribution? So it is nothing but nck p raised to the power k q raised to the power n minus k. We already know that probability of success is given as 0.7. So this is 0.7 and n is nothing but total, that is 5. And q becomes 1 minus p, which is 0.3. So we get what? We get 5 c3 0.7 raised to the power 3 q raised to the 0.3 raised to the power 2 plus 5c4 0.7 raised to the power 4 0.3 raised to the power 1 5c5 0.7 raised to the power 5 and 0.3 raised to the power 0. And if you add all of this, then you will come to an answer. I'm not doing the calculations over here. My main purpose is to explain you all, right? Calculations is for computers to do, not for me. Now the important part of here to understand is, if some people are confused, why this formula? And a very important question as well, why this formula? So basically, you are having n decision trees. Let's say you're having 5 decision trees, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. K means how many are you picking from these? In our case, how many are giving the correct output? So this can give, this can give, this can give, or in another case, this can give, this can give, this can give. So the order does not matter. It's a simple selection. And what I can do is, I can say, okay, I will choose 3 out of these. 5c3. That is why nck. K means success. How many successes? Here we are taking 3 successes. Now yp. If there are 3 successes, then their probability will be p, right? P into p into p. So p raised to the power 3. And because there are 3 successes, then 2 have to be failure. Therefore, q, which is probability of failure, in our case 0.3, in our case 0.7, p is 0.7 and q is 0.3. So q will be nothing but 5 minus 3, which is 2. 2 failures, 3 successes. So we take the probability of those. And which 3 we have to choose? We are taking from with the help of C, 5C3. Any doubts, anyone? Can I move forward? So let's look at the answer. So the answer comes out to be C. So those of you who said C, it's a right answer. C is 0.836. All right. So that's the correct answer. Now let's move forward and move to the third question. A pretty good question on Python, and I would say a moderate question on Python. Take your time, try to solve it, because it's a bit of tough question. I'll give you 2 minutes and your time starts now. No, decision trees can never be dependent. So Zine, the reason that decision trees are not dependent is because of 2 reasons. First of all, you are doing bagging. The errors of one model you're not feeding into another. Third, to avoid dependency, you make sure that the decision trees in random forest have no collinearity, have no correlation, sorry. They don't have any correlation among them. And how do you ensure this? By feeding in different columns and different rows, basically nothing but bootstrapping at different points, different splits for each of the decision tree that you make in random forest. This makes sure that each decision tree is not dependent on other and all of them are secondly uncorrelated. So bootstrapping is something that helps decision trees become uncorrelated. Also, because none of the errors you are feeding in, that is why there again also emphasizes on that they are independent. Clear, Zine? Any doubts? So a lot of people do not understand that bootstrapping is not for fun, but it is actually so that decision trees are uncorrelated and we can actually say that they are independent. And if your decision trees are correlated, that means you're wasting computation. If all of those decision trees are performing in the same way, then there is no reason. Then there is no reason to, make the random forest. You're just wasting computation. Hence, they should be uncorrelated and independent. Clear? All right, 10 more seconds. Ten more seconds, or 5 more seconds. All right, end of timer. Now let's get back. So everybody, you need to work on your speed, right? You will maximum get 2 minutes to solve a question in a test, right? So we need to be faster. We need to be very fast. All right, so what is the answer for this? I have got D, I have got C. I think the correct answer is D. Correct. Good. 2, 3 people have already sent it as D and more are coming. That's nice. Now let's try to solve this. We can see that D is the correct answer. Now let's understand what exactly is happening. So in Python, you know the basic def keyword to define functions. But there are many advanced functions that are very important for your placements, your interviews, your test, your internships, your off campus, your on campus, whether you are new, whether it is for after 1 year of experience, after 2 years of experience. These functions are very important that you have a knowledge of those. List is nothing but you converting the data into list. Map, basically any sequence you converting it into a list is list. Map, basically to the sequence pairwise you are putting a function, you're applying a function on each element of the list, right? On each element of the list, on each element of the sequence, you are basically applying some function. And what function over here? You could have created your own function using def, right? But over here we are using a unnamed function, lambda. Because these functions are not named, they are also called as unnamed functions or anonymous functions, right? This might be a very important point that you should remember, that lambdas do not have name and hence they are called anonymous or unnamed functions, right? So lambda x comma y, and the function is saying you have two elements xy. What you need to do is for these xy you add I and j, for these x and y you add I and j, and map is saying you need to work pairwise. Now how it is saying that you need to work pairwise? Because you have a and b. If only a was there, then each element of a, that is 1 and 2, then 3 and 4 would have been worked first on this, then on the second iteration in this. But now because a and b are together defined, so basically what it is saying is that you need to work on it pairwise. So basically 1 and 2, 5 and 6 together, then 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 together. Okay. So first what will happen is your a and b would be, as you know, the first pair is 1 comma 2 and 5 comma 6. First from here, second from here. Then you have second pair as 3 comma 4 and 7 comma 8. Now what you are doing is, these are treated as now your x and y. You will zip them. Why is zip written over here? Because you will zip them. Now how the zipping will be done is basically you will say I'll pick one from here, I'll pick one from here and pass them I comma 5. 1 comma 5. Second would be 2 comma 6. Now your loop will run over here. Because you are doing tuple unpacking, this will become I, this will become j, and your answer will be 6. Your answer will become 6. After that, this will definitely be in a list. After that, what will now happen is, your second pair will come up, this will become I, this will become j, these will be added, and you will get 8. After this, now it will go to the map back. It will go back to the map and it will ask for the other pairs, the next pairs. So these are the next pairs that will be provided by map, and then you will get 3 and 7. 3 comma 7 as first for x and y, and then you will get nothing but 4 and 8 in the zip xy. In the zip xy. Now that you've got zip xy, this will be I, this will be j. In the first iteration, you will get comma 10 because it is giving us a list, right? So for first element, so for first pairwise elements of the list, which is another list, right? Pairwise list it is because it is nested list, right? What you are getting in return is a list. This is returning a list. So you get 6 comma 8. Now the lambda is top, so your list is closed. And because the control is sent back to map, The new pair is sent, so new list will begin by lambda. Lambda will begin a new list. Over here you will get 10, then 8 and 4 will be added as I and j, which will give you 12. And in the end, you are making a list of it, so you will get 6, 8 and 10, 12. An interesting question. It had a lot of things in it. Zip, I actually missed zip in my first view. I thought only list, map and lambda are there, right? So any doubts in this question, anyone? Can I move forward? A pretty interesting question. Any doubts? All right. No doubts? Shall I move forward, everyone? Cool. Right, so one last time I'm explaining you. Map will tell lambda to work on pairwise elements of nested list. Nested list is there, and inside the element is nothing but a list. So first list in A, first list on B will be first pair. Now map will tell what? To zip x and y, which is again pairwise. So 1, 5, 2, 6, the pairs will be created. Then I, 1 plus 5 will be added, 2 plus 6 will be added, you will get one list. Lambda is done, one list is done, control is sent back to map. Now map will take these second pairs, which is 3, 4 list and 7, 8 list. Now zip will do what? Pairwise take 3, 7, 4 and 8. 3 plus 7 is 10, 4 plus 8 is 12. Add them both and then we have a list. List will do what? List will make a final list of the two lists that you have now. All right. Moving forward. For those people who are not able to make these questions, it's completely fine. The main concern is that as these sessions progresses, as you keep watching, as you keep attending these sessions, these streams, you become proficient in it. All right. Let's go to question 4. A question based on functions. Sure, Dhanush, I think I'll come back to it. Remind me at the end. So imaginations, the problem is that sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot. It depends on the company, the platform where the test is being conducted. But 95% of the time, you will not have calculator in internships, placements, or even if you go for, off-campus hiring. Even if you are 1 year experience, fresher, looking for internship, does not matter. Calculators are generally not provided. All right, I'll start the timer. I forgot about it. Question is simple. I'll only give you 30 seconds. Rubel, are you sure it's C? You've already defined a global X. It knows where to look for X, Rubel. If there was no global X keyword, then the answer would have been C. All right, amazing. So answers are coming, right answers are also coming. Let's try to solve this. The answer is B. I'm using actually this tool for the first time, so I'm understanding how can I reduce the thickness. Just give me 1 second. All right, works. I think let's make it this would be better. All right, so now let's solve it. So what exactly is happening over here, everyone? Please understand. So in case the global X was not present, the things would have been different. What would have the things been? Def F, X equal to 10 is already defined. You say print inside before X. Then you say X plus equal to 5. The function gets confused. Hey, where do I look for? Where should I look X? You didn't pass any X. There is no x, I don't know where to look for. What do you want me to increase? What is happening? The function gets confused and say unbound local error. Because first you'll print 10, now then you'll call the function, you'll throw an error, unbound local error will be printed. Over here, inside before 10 will be printed. This is how the functions work. They will take 10. What happens is, even if x is in global, they will print x. But if you try to manipulate that x, it will say, okay, I know this x is from global, but this x should be in my local scope. And I don't have a local scope x, so that becomes a problem. I don't have local scope x, so that is a problem. And hence I cannot do an addition and assignment operation, and my unbound local error will be 5. Over here, it will also print 10. But then you will get an error. But things are completely changed now that you have a global x. Global x says, hey, you already got an x, this is 10. And this is global. So whatever changes you are making, I will make these changes in my global as well. Not only in my function, I will make it outside as well. I will make these changes outside the function as well. That is how I will work now. That is how I will work now. So first what will happen? Before call x10 will work. You will call the function. X is now global. X is now in the global function stack. Is in the global stack. Now in the global stack, inside before x will be printed, which is nothing but 10. Which is nothing but 10. Then what will happen? After that, you're increasing this global x by 5, you will get 15. Now inside after, you will get 15. Now the question is, after call, will it be 10 or 15? The simple answer is, it will be 15. Because you have told the function that this variable is from my global stack. So whatever changes you are making, it is affecting in my global stack. It is not a local x that will get destroyed, that will get removed, that will get deleted once the function is over. This x will stay because it is from the global stack. Alright, so the answer becomes what? You'll get 15. So first you printed 10, then you printed 10, then you printed 15 and 15. So 10, 10, 15, 15, which is option B. Now a follow-up question on this. But before that, any doubts, anyone? Or can I move forward? I think we can move forward. Not a very tough question, this one. And it's a very common question, guys. It's a very common question. Wherever Python MCQs are asked, you will see these type of questions from functions. The reason I've given in just in the first session directly, right? I'll start the timer. A pretty easy question, 30 seconds to get started with, and we begin the timer. Also, guys, understand the way I'm explaining to you all these questions, right? Because if these same kind of questions in some format are asked in interviews, you can get a very good understanding of how I'm framing, how I'm basically making the person in front of me understand, right? However, we'll also have interview prep sessions as we go along, so you'll get everything there too. All right, time's up. So now please tell me the answers. What are the answers? You get 10 more minutes. Is the answer A? Is the answer B? Is the answer C? Is the answer D? Okay, people think that the answer is A. Some people think that the answer is B. Ishika thinks that the answer is A. Tanish thinks it's B. Some people think it's C. Good that nobody gave D. That is pretty good that you are capable of understanding that local and variable global are behaving differently from the last that we understood. All right, good. So the answer is B. Now, why is the answer B? A lot of people get confused in the behavior of mutable and immutable objects. Immutable and mutable objects behave differently when it comes to local and global scope. A is not the answer. B is the correct answer. So what happens is, any difference that you make in the local variable which is mutable like strings, which is immutable like strings or integers or floats or tuples, basically here what you are saying is x equal to x plus 1. So basically you're not saying that, okay, my x is 10, this is my memory block, and here only I'll make 11. No, what you are doing is, my initial memory block is 10, my x is a pointer that is pointing to this memory block. But when I make it 11, a new memory block is created and 11 points to this, my x points to this memory block. This is how mutable objects work. Alright, so now what will happen is, this x which is global will still be pointing to this. But local x initially will be 10 because you are passing it. Initially it will be 10, then you are adding 1 to it. Then what will happen is, this will happen and you will get a local x over here. A local x will be over here. Now you will get an 11. You will get an 11. Now what will happen is, let's leave y dot append for now. X will be returned. X will be returned. So what will be the answer? The simple answer will be x new. We are not printing that. We are printing 10, which is a. Lot of me on you both. We all got confused, right? I also thought we are printing x new, but we are printing a. So what gets printed is 10. Now comes the second part. Let's look at mutable objects, because my a which is 10, is this, and this stays intact. This does not change. The function is not changing it. You have not mentioned global anywhere, and this stays intact, and that is why you're printing 10. Now let's look at what is happening to our lists. One second, let me just clear the screen. All right, so now what is happening with the immutable, we talked about immutable. I've been calling them mutable so far. Immutable objects like string and list, that is what we have covered. Now let's talk about mutable objects like lists, sets, and everything. Now what happens with lists and sets is very important to understand. They behave completely different. So what will happen is, you will pass this. This is your B, your global B. In your memory block, what you will store is other pointers referencing to different memory blocks of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 will be stored. Now what is happening is, you are passing this to y. So you are saying, okay, y, you also point. But what happens with immutable objects is, immutable objects do not create a new memory block. Sorry, mutable objects do not create a new memory block. Mutable objects will be assigned to the same memory block, the local and global both. So y, which is local, will also be assigned to the same memory block, because this is a list which is mutable. Now what will happen is, what you are saying is y dot append 4. So 4 will be appended over here. You are returning y, your y new becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. But now what happens to your b? Your b, as you can see, is still pointing to this, and it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and the answer is C, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I clear, everyone? Am I clear, everyone? And this happens across mutable objects. This happens for set, this happens for dictionary, but it does not happen for immutable objects, which includes tuples, string, integers, floats, whatever you can think of that are immutable. I think this answer is clear and we can move forward. So as we can see, the answer is C, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try to solve this question. Again, a follow-up question on what we just understood, the behavior of immutable and mutable objects. We are talking about list, they are mutable. I am giving you again 40 seconds this time. Simple question, if you know about mutable and immutable objects, let's try to solve those. Solve this question. Let's begin. John, I think there are more than 300, 350 people who have registered for the, from IIT Kanpur for this series. So you'll find many of folks. At least the serious ones are definitely here. All right, timer is up. Please put in your answers, everyone. 10 more seconds. Please put in your answers, everyone. 10 more seconds. I'll open the screen brush. B, D. Okay. I think B is the correct answer. Rupesh, you got it correct. Actually, the first time also you got it correct, that time as well. So I believe, Rupesh, you're pretty clear with the mutable and mutable objects. That's a good thing. That time I didn't read the options properly, I think. Right? Okay, so let's solve it. Because I don't make these questions, right? The team makes these questions. I just come here and see what the questions are. All right. So 101, 102, 103, 104. This is a pallets, which is a list. Backups is assigned to pallets. Let's start creating memory blocks. Pallets 101, 102, 103, 104. Sure, I'll provide it. Not an issue. So 101, 102, 103, 104. Now what is happening is, if you carefully understand, your pallets is this. When you are saying backup equal to pallets, your backup is also pointing to pallets. This is called list assignment. Prasad, if you want to stay here, I think it's better you focus on what we are doing right now, right? Rather than thinking of XYZ things right now. Make the best of this. Later on, you can do the rest of the research, right? If you're more interested in doing that, all of sort of things, you're pretty free to do all of that rather than being here, right? Stop troubling others. So pallets, which is 101, 102, 103, and 104, is being pointed. Backup is being pointed to this. Now backup 1 is saying 999. My 1, which is 0 over here, and 1 over here, is now what? 999. Now what we are saying is archive equal to pallets, and what we are now taking is, it's called as a soft copy. In next sessions, I'll also teach you difference between soft copy and deep copy. In soft copy, the lists are also changed. If there is nested list, the nested list, the inside list, the inner list will be changed, but in deep copy, those won't be changed. But this is a soft copy. And in soft copy, what will happen is that archive will do what? A new memory block will be created for archive. 0, 1, 2 will be pointed towards these now. Now when you're saying archive 2 is 888, what will happen is this will go away from here and a new memory block for 888 will be created. So now let's come to the answer. Pallets is what? 101, 999, 103. Backup is what? 101, 999, 103. Archive is what? 101, 999, and 888. Oh, sorry, we forgot 104, right? All of them have 104. Completely slipped it. All of them have 104. Nothing is done to 104, right? So all of them have a 104. So the answer is 101, 999, 103, 104. This is correct. Backup will be the same, 101, 999, 103, 104. And then we will have 101, 999, 888, 104. Hence the option is B. Good job everyone who got it correct. Let's move forward. Keep assigning yourself marks. Let's see whether you can create the clear the shortlist today or not. All right. People who are not responding with the answers, try to respond, try to solve them. It's okay if you're not able to. Tukke maro. Let's test your gut feeling. How well is it? All right, next question. I'll start the timer. I'll give you 1 minute for this. It's a question based on tuples and again memory blocks. People who are enjoying, please, if I'm helping you in any way, if Data Ventures is helping you in any way, help us by clicking just the subscribe button. Even if you come back later, you'll find many helpful things over here. We have started this now. And also on Instagram, check us out, data_avengers, right? It gives us motivation, guys, and this motivation takes us a long way to help you. Trust me. These set of questions that the team has made, they literally spend hours to decide what questions should we give for the students, so that it is not very hard for the first session, and it is also not very simple. They actually gain something, not something like, okay, group by, answer done. Not like that. All right, so the timer is up. Please start throwing in the correct answers. What are the correct answers, everyone? Please start throwing them. All right, so the answer is B. Let's look at the solution. So what is the solution? How are things happening over here? Let's understand. The answer is B, everyone. Let's understand how these things are working. What exactly is happening is, you have a, oh shit, 1 second, sorry. You're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So basically you have a tuple. In which one memory block you have a list which is pointing to 1, 1 and pointing to 2. You have another tuple which is 3, 4, and you have a 5. This is how your tuple memory block will kind of look like. Now what will happen over here is, you have 1 and 2 over here. You are basically now unpacking the tuple. This is called as unpacking the tuple. So what will happen is, because you have passed 3 elements, there are 3 elements, you will not get an error. If you pass more elements, let's say you pass x, y, z, l, then you will get an error. If you pass x, y, z, m, you might get an error. But if you pass only x and y, you still might get an error. But because there are 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3, you get them. So my x becomes 1 and 2, y becomes 3 and 4, and 5 becomes z. Now my x is also pointing to this list. Why? Because it is a tuple, it will not point to the same thing. You will get a y equal to 3, 4, which is separate memory block. Because tuples are immutable, hence y will not point here. Y will point to a new one. Now z will also be given a 5. Now what will happen is, x dot append 3. You're appending a 3. So when you append a 3 to this particular x, when you're appending a 3, you will also get a 3 over here. Now y equal to y plus 5 comma. Let me tell you a very minute mistakes that people make. If y is equal to 5 would have been written like this. This is not tuple. This is treated as integer. And hence tuple plus integer cannot be concatenated. And hence you would have got an error. Because you have got a 5 comma over here, that makes it a tuple with one element. This is not a tuple. This is a normal integer. Now that you have got 5 comma, what will happen is, you are saying to this y, you will actually create a new one and you will put a 3, 4, 5 and y will be gone from here. And this is a tuple. Now you will print all. So what is my initial tuple now? Initial tuple is 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. T itself is a tuple, but inside it, Varsha, it has a list which is an mutable object and can change. That is the benefit of this question. That is why I'm giving you this question, right? Because inside, if it's a list, that is a mutable object and that can change. 3, 4, which is a tuple, it will not change, as you can see. 5 will stay the same. Now x will again become 1, 2 and 3, and our y, which is 3, 4 and 5, the answer is B. I hope nobody has any doubts. I'm moving to the next question. If anybody has any doubts, please let me know. Nice. ML. 60 seconds. Start now. Any mutable object inside a tuple, Varsha, is nothing but pointing to something. So if you pick up anything, if you pick any other object or you pick that particular list only, you append anything to it, that can be done because list in itself is mutable. Tuple is immutable, but list, you cannot put a new list into it, but you can do changes to the same list because the memory block is same and the changes will reflect. All right. Next question, which of the following changes are most likely to increase bias in a random forest model? Start throwing your answers in. You have 15 more seconds. All right, time's up. Now, what is the answer? It is, one second, where is my pointer? 1 and 3. Now the answer, why is it 1 and 3? The answer is 1 and 3. So increase in bias makes sense. And I think the answer is 1 and 3 only. Let's check if you all are putting in A, which is 1 and 2, does it make sense? I'll quickly check it while we solve the question. All right. So the first one says reducing maximum tree depth. So if I'm reducing maximum tree depth, that means I'm reducing the complexity, and if I'm reducing the complexity, it will learn less noise. And if it is learning less noise, it will change less when new training data is fed into it, and because of that, my variance will be reduced. And if my variance is being reduced because of bias and variance trade-off, this is model complexity. As model complexity increases, the bias decreases and variance increases. And because there is a trade-off, which is nothing but total error, which is bias plus variance plus some constant irreducible error, my complexity is getting reduced. My variance is getting reduced. My bias is increasing. Correct answer. Reducing minimum samples required in leaf nodes. So if a lot of people might be thinking this is new, but this is nothing but a parameter called minimum samples in leaf node. And what does this mean is that if there are more samples in minimum leaf node, then it can make a split and the leaf node will not be the same. It might go and make a split and that leaf node might not be the same. If there are 10 samples which are minimum, it will stop here and not make a split. But if there are 11 samples over here, it will make a split and extend the tree. That means my tree is again expanded. My tree is again, we are increasing the depth of the tree, making it more complex. If we are making it more complex, we are learning more noise, which is increasing the variance, and which is reducing the bias. Let me just think if I've said it correct or not. So yes, it is increasing the variance and reducing the bias. Correct. Now if I make it 9, then the depth of the tree will be reduced. We might not make a split. We might not make a split on it. And if we are not able to make a split on it, then what will happen? If you're not able to make a split on it, then our bias, one second, I think I made a mistake over here. I'm making a mistake. I think what I said was wrong. Just give me 1 second to collaborate my thoughts. So if I have 11 over here, then I can make, and if I have a 10 over here, then if I have a 9 over here, then the chances of making the split here are more, and the chances of correct, right. So if I'm having 11 over here, then lesser are the chances to go to depth. Lesser are the chances that the split will happen. And if lesser are the chances that the split will happen, my variance will reduce and my bias will increase. Now what will happen over here is, if I'm having a 10 over here, then compared to 11, more are the chances that I can make a split and more are the chances that I will be able to more are the chances that I will learn noise, and more are the chances of variance increase, and thus the bias will reduce. Similarly for 9, the bias will reduce even further. Similarly, the bias will reduce even further, and hence reducing minimum samples required in leaf nodes will reduce my bias, so it is not the correct option. It will actually reduce the bias. So 2 is the wrong option. So I think this 2 is 2 is increasing the bias, so it is the correct option. Sorry, 2 is increasing the bias, reducing the variance, so it is the correct answer. Now let's move to the third one. To the third one, increasing the number of trees in the forest. So what happens is, because we know that the variance of each tree, so this one is correct, this one is wrong. So variance, because what is happening is, variance of each tree is high. And in statistics, if you are averaging high variance, if you're taking a mean of high variance things, the resulting mean will have a lower variance. This is one of the rules of statistics. So if you increase the more number of trees, the average will increase more, the chances of the averaging effect will increase more, and the chances of basically the variance decreasing will be more. And if variance is decreasing, then my bias is increasing. So this is the correct option. Now I'll come to second once again, because that time I did a bit of hodgepodge. So let's understand once. I think I've put it wrong again. So having 11 samples, having 10 samples, having 9 samples, if there are minimum 11 samples, then I cannot make a split. If there are 12, only then I can make a split. So this is stopping me from making a split at a higher sample level. So in case I have only 12 samples, I can make a split. Otherwise, I cannot make a split. Here, in case only if I have 11 samples, I can make a split. In case I have 10 or more than 10 samples, I can make a split. So here, the splitting is being stopped. Splitting is being stopped. Over here as well, the splitting is being stopped, but lesser stop. But basically the stop is less. Over here, it's being not at all stopped compared to all. So the tree will grow maximum over here, moderate over here, and tree depth will be minimum over here. So if tree depth is maximum over here, that means variance will be high. That means variance will be high, and that means bias will be less. That means variance will be high and bias will be less. And as I'm reducing this parameter, you all can see that my bias is decreasing. And if my bias is decreasing and variance is increasing, then this is the wrong option, because we need increase in bias. And hence 1 and 3 are the correct options. Anybody has any doubts? Because I went a bit wrong in the second one. Increasing number of trees leads to overfitting it, hence it will. No, Tanish, that does not happen. The core law of statistics says that increasing the number of trees will increase the averaging capability of high variations. And when you're increasing the averaging capability, you will get a reduced variance. So increasing number of trees actually will never overfit. It will lead to high bias. How increasing trees increase bias? Are we overfitting there? Yes, you're thinking in a wrong direction. All these trees, like I'm not drawing the full trees, right? All these trees are independently working. They have high variance independently. What you are doing now is, you're not taking one tree to make the prediction. You are taking an average tree. As you can see in regression, we take average, or otherwise we take majority voting, right? So you take an average number of trees to make the prediction. You are averaging. And the more numbers you have to average, the more in center, the more noise you have. The more data you have to average, the better the central tendency will be. Noise will be less. And if noise is less, I'm explaining that only. And if noise is less, that means that you are reducing variance and increasing bias. And it's okay if you had a different understanding of this before. This is directly from research paper and a very famous book called Introduction to Statistical Learning. It's written there. Before that, I also used to think the same thing. Think the same thing. If you use only one or two tree, it will get it depend only on them. That will make overfit. So by increasing, kind of, right? Kind of create imaginations. Because more data you take, the less noisy it will be when you are averaging. And that means you're increasing the variance. You are reducing the variance. You're increasing the bias. Reducing the noise, reducing the variance, reducing the variability, increasing the bias. So correct imaginations, you're thinking correct way, right? Anybody has any doubts? It's okay if you all thought earlier that it will increase the variance. It does not increase variance. A lot of people, even me at some point, used to think the same. But when I went through those research papers, I understood because we're averaging highly variable things, and the more we add more of them, the less noise we'll get. And getting less noise will make variance less and bias more. So hence 1 and 3 are the correct answers. Alright, if any doubts, I'll come back. Otherwise, till then, other people can solve the question. Question number 9 is a little tough question. Let me give you 120 minutes, that is 120 seconds, that is 2 minutes for this. So if you have any doubts, please let me know so far. Statistics, question based on sampling. Akash, imaginations, is it clear? Kaman, is it clear? Tanish, is it clear? Anybody has any doubts? Please let me know. If you're using only 5 trees, and if you're using 10 trees, there are less chances that your decision will change when new training data is fed on 10 trees compared to 5 trees. And hence that means your variance is being reduced and your bias is being increased. Another perspective of answering the same question. I have various different perspectives. So if you're not able to understand anything, please let me know. All right. Certain population of packets are distributed with mean of 100 grams. And guys, these questions are very important for interviews. Amazing, Anusha, amazing. Good job. Good job. Because it's probability, Anusha, so, it's better to tell in the form of 0.95, right? Because probability is never, it's not a very wise way to answer in terms of percentage. Or you say 95% chance, the probability is 0.95, right? These are the correct terminologies that you can use. B, good job everyone, good job. Actually, this question is a very good question, and if you're getting the answers, that means amazing. It requires knowledge of Z-score, it requires knowledge of CLT. Alright, now I think I've given enough time, even the timer is up, been 10-20 seconds. Let's solve it. Alright, so what is being told to us is that weights of certain population of packets are distributed with mean of 100 grams. So basically, you have packets and they're distributed in some way. The mean is basically 100 grams. And standard deviation is given as 15 grams. This is my population. This is my population that is given. Now, what they are asking is, can you tell me if random sample of 36 packets is taken, what is the probability that sample mean weight lies between 95 and 105 grams? How can we answer this? So it's pretty simple to understand that, okay, what I need from population, I'm going to samples and I'm going to multiple samples. Multiple samples mean I need sampling distribution. I need a distribution of samples. And I know from CLT that sampling distribution of sample means follows a normal distribution irrespective of my population distribution. So I will plot a normal distribution, and I know that CLT also tells me that the mean of this distribution of sample means is nothing but equal to population mean, which is 100 grams. Next thing it tells me is that standard error, which is nothing but standard deviation for the sampling distribution of sample means or CLT is standard error is equal to sigma by root n, which is 15 by 6, which is 15 by 6. I think the answers are not correct, which is 15 by 6. So now, how would you go forward with it is that you would say, okay, my sigma by root n is 15 by 6. So my standard error or standard deviation for this is 15 by 6. Now what you will say, which is approximately nothing but if you take approximations, it is 2.1, 15 by 6 is 2.5. 2.5. Now what will you do is, you will say, okay, 105 will lie where? So I will say z equal to, I will convert this into z. So how will I convert this into z is, you will say, okay, I have 100 over here. I have a standard error of 2.5. This is my nothing but standard deviation. So to convert it into a standard normal distribution, I will use z mean 0. So any point subtracted by mean, that is 100, and now standard deviation, which is 1. So divide by standard error, which is nothing but 2.5. So x minus 100 divided by 2.5. So now let's calculate z for 105 grams and 95 grams. Now why are we calculating z? So that we can understand the z value, then we can use the z table to find the area under the normal distribution. So now what we are getting over here is 95 minus 100 upon 2.5, which is minus 5 upon 2.5, which is minus 2. And for z equal to 105, for x equal to 105, the z comes out to be 5 upon 2.5, which is 2. It comes out to be 2 over here. Now I understand, I know it very clearly that between two standard deviations, you can see this is two standard deviations. This is nothing but two standard deviations. My area is 95%. Total area is 1. So 95% is 0.95. And area under the curve gives me nothing but probability, because this is P of x, where x is nothing but sample means, and this is sample mean over here. And the answer is B, 0.9544. If you have any doubts, please let me know. The answer is, I think, B, 0.9544. Let's also verify it once. Yeah, 0.95. I think 44 might come from somewhere. You know, it might be, if we take these at table, then might be we drill down to 0.94544. But it's fine. If the other options would be 0.95, then only we need to worry. It's only given 95. So that is a simple way of doing it. Right? So now let's look at the 10th question. Can you solve this question? Take z value, z critical value as z at basically 0.95. You can take it as 1.96. Z alpha, you can take as 1.96. I'll start the timer. Hope you've read the question. All right, everyone, let's get this correct. Hypothesis testing, simple question. All right, I've got the answer. Have you all got the answer? Please start putting it in the chat. So I see a lot of C's. 30 more seconds to go, everyone. Hurry up. If you're enjoying so far, we have still 20 more questions to go, everyone. And a lot of good questions are here that are coming up. 2 घंटे का 2.5 hours हो जाएगा, कोई बात नहीं. At least we are learning something. At least we are practicing. At least you guys are also understanding how to make the interview or explain these all. For example, companies like InfoEdge, everyone, it visits a lot of campuses for data science roles, data analytics role, and statistics is one of their favorites. They will ask a lot of statistics question based on expected value, p-value, alpha, hypothesis testing, right? So we are making sure if you solve all of these questions, any company that asks you statistics specific questions in depth, you'll be able to solve those as well. Okay. All right, timer is up. Answer is C. Very good, everyone. You all are pretty clear with hypothesis testing, I suppose. Let's solve it. So Z-test. What is our null hypothesis and what is our alternate hypothesis? So first, let's create null hypothesis. A car manufacturer claims that it has a new model with an average mileage of 20 km per liter. So this is the population mean that is currently claimed to be true. Now, we need to conduct a study, and for it we took 50 cars and we took a sample and we found out that the sample mean is this. So the population standard deviation is known to be 2.5 km per liter. So what should the consumer group conclude? So now we are talking about greater, as I see over here. We're talking about greater. So I understand that my Z-test needs to be a right-tailed Z-test. It needs to be a right-tailed test because I'm looking over here. I'm looking over here. My population mean, this is the distribution assuming null hypothesis is true. And if my mean, if my new concluded value falls over here, if I pick a sample from here, that means I have a very low chance of picking a sample from here, and this distribution might be wrong. And the true distribution, that is the alternate distribution, might actually be this. Might actually be this, where this sample has a, will be this, where this sample falls over here. You can see the mean has increased and the sample is much closer to the population. So the chances of picking up this sample are also more. And that is why we will conduct a Z-test, which is right-tailed. So for the right-tailed Z-test, what will we say? We will say, okay, my mu should be greater than, mu should be less than or equal to my 20. I think it should be, one thing we've done a mistake. I think they're greater or more mentioned over here. In this, I don't think they've mentioned anywhere that which test it needs to be. I was looking for that. I thought these more and greater are meaning the means. So actually we're not sure what exactly they're asking for. So let me just reiterate the question once. So what should the consumer group conclude? Reject the null hypothesis. So one thing is missing in this question. Let's just take that it is a left tail test. The consumer group is trying to conclude that whether the mean is less than what is currently claimed. Let's just take this for now. This is something that was missing in the question. I noticed it. Right. So now what the question is saying is what we all talked about, just the opposite of it. My mu naught is here, assuming null hypothesis is true. Now assuming my alternate hypothesis is true, my mu will be here. So if my sample falls very far away from the population mean, the probability to pick this sample will be very low. The probability to pick this sample will be very low. So now if you're picking it is very low, then that means in alternate it will be closer. In alternate, the probability to pick this sample will be high, and we'll say alternate is correct. But we need to check whether this probability is low or whether it is high. So how can we check it? Using the Z-test. Now, what I'm getting is that my H naught is nothing but mu is greater than and equal to 20. Because I've said whether it is less than always means a left tail test. That means I'm checking if my mean is less than. So first you can always construct an alternate hypothesis. After you've constructed alternate hypothesis, your null hypothesis will be opposite of it. This is for your alternate and your null will be the opposite. Sorry. Your null will be your opposite. Just the opposite, right? So this is how you can create the null and alternate hypothesis. Less than, you create a less than, greater than, you put greater than, then null hypothesis will be just the opposite of it. Now what will you do? You will calculate the z-score. How will you calculate it? You will say, okay, I've got a 9.2 minus 20. Then what I've got is, then I've got nothing but a standard error. Over here I have a standard error, which is nothing but standard deviation, 2.5 divided by root 50, which is my sample size. Now what will I do? It is 0.8 divided by 2.5 multiplied by root 50. And the answer that I think it will come approximately is something minus 2 point something. Minus 2 point something. And because we took Z alpha as 1.96, we know that it is symmetrical. So over here as well, it will be minus 1.96. And because our sample is falling in the rejection region, which is minus 2 point, approximately whatever, minus 2 point something, which is greater than minus 1.96, we will say we will reject the null hypothesis and the option will be C. We will reject the null hypothesis and the option will be C. I think the question has some errors in it. The question is not properly framed, but I hope that you understood how the hypothesis test is consumed, and whoever had a doubt that how do we create null and alternate hypothesis, that is also pretty clear. If asked, can you conclude whether the mean is more than what is claimed, then that means your alternate says mean is greater than. So your alternate, so your null will be less than equal to. If it is it equal to? Is your mean equal to 20 or is it a deviation? Then your alternate will be not equal to 20 and null will be equal to 20. Null hypothesis is that hypothesis that you assume to be true and that is currently claimed to be true. Alternate is what you want to be true and is currently assumed to be false. Alright, now moving forward. Hypothesis testing is pretty good, guys. If you have a good grasp on hypothesis testing, all your analysis will make much more sense. Okay. So if you have any doubts, please let me know. I'll move forward to the next question. Yeah, so C is the answer. There is some error in the question writing. I'll make sure that it does not happen from the next time. I apologize for that. All right, can you solve this question? I think it's a pretty good question. I've seen it many times. Not exactly this question, but kind of these questions. Solve this question. It's a pretty easy question if you understand how the covariance of X and Y work. It's actually a question of 30 seconds. Anyone has any answers? "45 more seconds. All right. A, very good. Mayank, amazing. Hello all, very good. An amazing username. Good job, Suparna. All getting the correct answers. That's amazing. All right, time's up. Yeah, let's open the screen brush and let's solve it. It's a pretty simple question. Covariance of X and Y is equal to E of X and Y minus expected value of X and expected value of Y. If you know this, you would have been able to solve it. E of XY is given as 95. Expected return, which is nothing but the expected value, is given as 8. and for y it is given as 10. So the answer comes out to be 95 minus 80 is equal to 15. Very important set of questions for statistics heavy companies. For example, for quant roles, for business roles, for statistical roles, for data science, very important set of questions. You should know all the formulas related to covariance of x and y. You should also know the relation with the variance of x and variance of y. You should also know the formulas that variance of x into a is nothing but a square variance of x. All this also you should be aware of, right? It is okay if you do not go into much depth of it, but to solve these kind of questions, at least just look at the formulas once. You'll be able to get to the answers. And people do not look at it, they miss it. But I'm telling you, mechanical students do very good in it because they have a course which actually teaches them this expected value covariance and variance. So those guys and girls are able to answer it in the interviews. And rest of the branches like mine, which was biochemical, we fail at answering these questions, right? So the only reason I think the team has put in because they want you all to just have a look at these formulas. You can actually go and understand the depth of it as well. Yeah, so the answer is A15. Now let's move to the next question, a Python question, a pretty simple question. Let me begin the timer. I think 30 seconds are more than for this. So people who are getting answers so far, very good. People who are not able to get the right answers, it's completely okay. You will soon start getting the answers. You are learning, you are growing. People who are getting the answers, you should be not just happy about getting the solution, but also understand how the solution is coming through. You should understand how I'm explaining so that anywhere these questions are asked to you in any form, you're able to explain those, right? All right, pretty simple question based on error handling in Python. The timer is up. Now let's try to solve this question. So to solve this particular question, we have to first understand what will happen line by line of the code. So first, we do not have any a defined. So directly assigning an a will throw an error. Directly assigning a plus equal to 10 will throw an error. Because it throws an error, my code goes into except block. Now because my code goes to except block, it prints 20. It will print 20. Finally will always be returned. It will print 30. Finally is always returned. 20 and 30 is the answer. Even if let's say a was equal to 10, let's say a is equal to 5 was defined initially, right? And then this would have been done. So we would have got 15 and still we would have got 30. Finally is always returned. Try, if there is an error, this will not work. Then if the error is there, let's say the error is there, then the except block will work. If there is no error, if this is working fine, there is no error, then except will not work. But finally works regardless. It works regardless. It will work whether try works, whether except works. As a follow-up, I just want you to, and I might these in the next coming sessions, in the next coming seminars, as a follow-up, what I want you to do is, you should go back and look at try, except, and else. And also try, except, else, and finally. All together. Alright, so as a follow-up, I want you to go and understand how does these work. You might see it in the next videos in my streams that you will get a question on this. Now let's move forward and let's see if the answer is correct. So yes, the answer is correct. Now let's move forward to exponential distribution memorylessness property. A pretty simple question, 20 seconds, I think 45 seconds I'll give you for this because there is too much text. Let's begin. Which of the following best describes the memorylessness property of the exponential distribution? All right, timer is up. Now, let's look at what all you guys have put in. Okay, B. I've got B, I've got C, and the people who have got the answer C are the correct are basically is the correct answer. The C is the correct answer. You're doing a pretty good job, guys. All right, you're doing a pretty good job. Now, this question is of utmost importance. If your case wants to go, it's okay if you don't have an idea. If your interviewer wants to go, if your test is more on probability, this question you will see for sure. 9 out of 10 times you will see this question if the test and your interview is more on probability distributions. If the interviewer is asking what is exponential distribution, they will definitely ask what is memorylessness property in exponential distribution if they want to grill. Okay, and if you tell them yourself, then that's a pretty good job. You're adding some extra information which not a lot of students will add, not a lot of candidates will add, and that's good. 1 second, let me just clear the screen. So what exactly is memorylessness property of exponential distribution? So memorylessness property of exponential distribution tells us that, hey, your probability from S, X is random variable following an exponential distribution, and T plus S, this is same as if you are starting from this is same as if you are starting from 0 and going till t. The start time does not affect the probability. Exponential distribution doesn't consider the previous time that has elapsed. It does not take into account the probability or the outcomes of what could have happened in previous timestamps. So even if S time has elapsed, let's say we take an example that you are waiting for bus on a bus stop. The arrival of the bus follows an exponential distribution. Okay, now what you are saying is that, okay, I've already waited for 5 minutes. Now what is the probability that the bus will arrive in next 10 minutes? This probability, which is P of 5x less than 15, is entirely the same as P of your P of 0, x, which is a random variable, and your t, which is 10. These two are same. No matter whatever time has elapsed, it does not matter. For any interval, my thing would be the same, whether I'm starting from 0 or whether I'm starting from an elapsed time. And because previous things, it is not taking into account previous time elapsed, x is a random variable of time, which is following an exponential distribution of here, right? So in other cases, it would be previous other outcomes that have elapsed, that has happened. It does not matter to exponential distribution. What matters to exponential distribution is the interval. And second thing is, because whatever has happened in the past is attached to memory, it is in your memory. Because exponential distribution has no such memory, it is called as a memoryless property of exponential distribution. And hence, the probability that the system lasts at least t more units of time, given that it has already lasted s units, is same as the probability it lasts at least t units from the start. From the start, which is 0, t time has elapsed, has at least elapsed, s units over here, t more and s over here. The same thing it is speaking of. This is a very important property of exponential distribution which none other follow. All right. So now if you have any doubts, let me know. Otherwise, let's move to the next question. As you can see, C is the correct answer. Okay. A very important question asked to me in Magic Bricks interview. I'll start your timer. I think 30 seconds are more than enough. Now the questions are actually much more simpler because most of the numericals we covered in the start. That is how we plan to design it so that your brain functions more because it functions more when it is more theoretical. If you're tired of solving, if you keep on solving, it becomes very tiring. So you've solved a few. Now your brain might be a bit tired. So now let's understand a few good theoretical questions, right? If I keep going with numerical questions, you might get tired, you might get bored, you know. So to avoid that, we covered the numericals in the start, and now we are solving the linear regression. All right, so what are the answers, everyone? Good, hello all, you've got the correct answer again. I think you are pretty much getting hired right away. All right, good everyone, good job. Good job. So the important perspective to understand from here is that if anyone asks you, if you are given two features, what will your linear regression model look like? I have heard students directly or candidates directly say it will be a plane, but it is not always a plane. It depends on what exactly are your variables. If I have one categorical variable, I will have a family of lines, and the lines will be parallel to each other. They will have a different intercept, but they will be parallel to each other. In case, let me also just draw it for you all now. 1 second. So this is how your graph will look like. X1, X2, and Y. It's a 3D graph, so people directly answer because it's a linear regression, it would be a plane. It would be a plane, but that is not correct because I'm changing it a bit so that you guys are able to understand it easily. Let's take our categorical variable over here, our X1 over here, and our Y over here. Now, if I take it like this, then let's say it has two categories, 0 and 1. That means I cannot have values between these, and also, outside these, imagine in 3D, I cannot have values here. So I will have two parallel lines with different intercepts, and hence making it a family of lines as the answer. So please, every time anybody asks you or you see in a test, I've seen that there are options. It makes a plane, it makes a family of line. So option A and B will always both be correct. Don't just put plane and come. It actually depends on the variable. Now, let's move to the next particular question. Question number 15. What will be output of the following Python question? Pretty easy answer question. I'm giving you 30 seconds to answer. All right. What do you think would be the answer, everyone? So we started with around 120 folks. Now there are 40 folks left. But that's pretty good. I didn't even think that 10 of you would survive. But I'm impressed. I'm happy that I've got some good students, very serious candidates over here. It's pretty nice. All right, time's up. Let me just go to the screen brush. So what all options you have put in? B, A. So A is not the correct one. A, not the correct one. The option is B. The reason why it is B is, now, the only thing you need to understand it is that this could also be a for loop instead of a while loop. So whenever in your Python for or while loop, do while loop does not exist in Python. So only two loops, while and for. Whenever while and for loop have a break statement, and that break statement is being executed, then things change. If this break statement is not being executed, then things change. So this is called as a for else and while else. So if it's a for else, if it's a for loop, then an else, you can see these are on the same indentation, right? This is called for else, this is called while else. We are working with while else, but both of them behave the same way. if there is a break statement mentioned over here, if we have a break statement in here, then what happens is that if the break statement is executed, else will not be executed. If the break statement is not executed, else will be executed. Over here, because actually, let's say we are starting from 0, we are beginning with 1, it should be an error otherwise, right? So x plus equal to 1, what will happen is, yes, but for while, yeah, that's only Varsha. X equal to 0 should have been mentioned. So let's say x equal to 0, because there was no error over here. So we're directly just taking it as, x plus equal to 1, x equal to 0. So x was not initialized, that is why I've initialized it now. So x equal to 0, x less than equal to 5, x plus equal to 1. Now what will happen is, you will start getting 1, then you will get 2, and then you will get a break statement. As soon as x will become 3, break start hits, and once the break hits, the initialization value will be 0. So once the break hits, you will get 1, 2. Now the control will go to the else block. Once the control has gone to the else block, it will see break has already been initiated. So nothing will happen. And 1, 2 will be the answer. So now if I say that I've already initialized x, right? Saying x is not initialized 100 times won't initialize it. So I've already initialized it. So let's chill now, right? So if x is equal to 0, and you can already understand as well, there might be many cases where x is not initialized, the answer is given, but using options you can decipher that x would be 0, because the options start from 1, and you know how while loop works. So you can decipher x is equal to 0. Yes, it was a bad thing that x was not initialized, but let's not keep repeating it and focus on the answer, right? So when now what we have is 1, 2 loop completed will not be printed, because when the break statement is hit, we will not execute the else block. If let's say x was equal to 6, then the answer will be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 6 will not be printed because you've hit the break statement. Print will not be executed, and we'll go to else print loop completed. We'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And because else break is not completed, we'll get loop completed. This will be our answer. But in our original case, because x equal to 3, we hit the break statement, so only 1, 2 is printed. It will not go to loop completed, right? So any doubts here, please let me know. It's a while else, for else concept that I wanted to touch today. I'm moving to the next question. If you have any doubts, please let me know. And I again apologize, x was not initialized, right? Please answer this question. You have 10 seconds. भाइयों और बहनों, अगर ये क्वेश्चन आपके टेस्ट में आ जाता ना, आप वहाँ पे नहीं बोलते एक्स इनिशियलाइज नहीं है, हम वहाँ पे ना डाइसिफर कर लेते कि एक्स की वैल्यू क्या है. All right, so what will be the answer for this question? Data types in statistics. Okay, please everyone throw in your answers. You have 10 seconds left. All right, so the answer is ordinal. Now why is the answer ordinal? Let's understand. Pretty easy question. I hope you all have got it. Pretty simple question, right? So over here, what happening is 1, 2, 5. So I know that this variable has some kind of an order. But before going to ordinal or discrete, my first mind thought should be whether it is quantitative or whether it is qualitative. If it is a qualitative variable, then I will go for ordinal and nominal. If it is a quantitative variable, then I'll go for discrete and continuous. Now, what a lot of people do is, they think it's a quantitative variable because 1 and 5 are written and they make sense, so we'll choose discrete. And what is the answer is qualitative and ordinal. Why? Because in quantitative variables, multiplication, division, addition, any mathematical operation should make sense, and it should not change on the basis of perspective. 1 liter plus 1 liter is 2 liter, whether I buy it, whether XYZ buys it, whether Jeff Bezos buys it. Anybody buying 1 liter plus 1 liter will be 2 liter. Not talking about frauds that people are doing, right? ये पानी मिला दिया, उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा मैं. 1 liter plus 1 liter will be 2 liter. End of the story. 3 liters you had, you dropped 1 liter, so you have 2 liters, it makes sense. But the problem with this particular rating is that 5 minus 4 does not mean that that person liked it one time less. And 4 minus 3 means that compared to, 3 means, 5 minus 3 means that the person liked 2 times less. This is not the case. This is not the case. Even addition does not make sense. 5 plus 4 does not make sense. 5 plus 4 does not mean 9 rating. Does not make sense. Why it does not make sense is because, let's say you have created a new version of iPhone. People who moved from Android and bought this iPhone, which you made affordable, like it very much. They give rating 5. They give rating 5. They found it amazing. People who already use iPhone are liking iPhone and they find it good. They also find it good. But they feel that there can be still many improvements when it comes to iPhone. So both of these people are liking it. They're happy with it. Their perspectives are different. Their perspectives are completely different. But one is coming from an Android background, one is coming from an iPhone background. Now, another example is, let's say, Akash rates it second. I rate it third. I might be a bit more emotional. I don't like it, but I'll just say, okay, it's 3. Akash and I both find it very bad. We both ate it. We both found it very bad. Yet I gave 3 and Akash gave it 2. Because the perspectives might be a bit different. And over here, the reason why this is an ordinal variable and it is not a discrete variable. As a follow-up question, can you also answer race positions in race or positions in test, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, let's say, what variable will these be? These variable will also have a data type. This data will also be of type ordinal. Because first 2 minus 1 does not mean that this person, let's say, completed in X seconds. And 3 minus 1 does not mean that this person took 2x seconds more. That basically, second person took x seconds more compared to first, and third person took 2x seconds more compared to third. This does not have, again, no meaning. And then positions in race, positions in test, all of these are ordinal and are not discrete. And they are not nominal because they follow an order. We know that 5 is better and 1 is worse. At least it follows some kind of an order. Alright, I hope these doubts are cleared. I'll move on to the next question now. We've nearly completed all the questions. What is variance of model? A pretty simple question. Let's see what all you answer. Only 30 seconds. I'm starting the timer now. Oh, I didn't start the timers. 1 second, guys. Start it again. Reduce the time. Okay. Okay. Why not D, guys? Why not D? Gautam thinks it's D. Gautam might not be wrong. Good, it's a pretty simple question if you know the definition of variance correctly. All right, time's up. Given enough time. Now let's solve it together. So the answer is C. The answer is C because it does not matter model complexity or overfitting. Because of model complexity, variance is increasing. Because of model complexity, variance increases. So model complexity causes variance, and variance in turn causes overfitting. This is the roadmap. This is how it works. Variance is not model complexity. Variance is not overfitting. Variance means, let's say you have a big training data, you make two parts of it. You train a decision tree. On first part, you get a decision tree like this. Then you train the same decision tree, which is untrained, but all the hyperparameters, everything is same. Now what will happen is you will get an entirely different structure. And why is this happening? Because data has noise. If a model is complex, it will learn noise. Noise will exist in this part as well, and noise will exist in this part as well. Now a follow-up question can be, then if noise exists in both, then why are not these still the same? Why are these different? They are different because noise is random. If noise was something same, then it was actually not noise, because noise is nothing but randomness, which does not make any sense. That is why this noise is different, this noise is different. And that is the reason why, because the decision trees are very complex, this learns noise 1 and this learns noise 2. So variance tells you how is the model changing on learning on new training data belonging to the same training subset. Now because it is learning noise, your test data will have noise 3. And because it will have noise 3, it will give you good training error. The training error will be low, but the testing error will be high. And because of all of this, the variance is causing overfitting. Not the other way around, guys. Model complexity makes it learn noise, because of which it has high variance, and because it has high variance, it causes overfitting. Not the other way around. So don't mix up any day overfitting and variance. Variance causes overfitting, not the other way around. I hope we all have understood. This particular answer is C. Let's move to the next question. All right, nice question this time. An important aspect of Naïve Bayes. 1 second, sorry. I'm starting the timer. 20 seconds will all it takes. What is the main purpose of Laplace smoothing in Naïve Bayes? All right, time's up. Can I please have answers? What exactly is Laplace smoothing in Naïve Bayes? Good job. What about rest of you? Good job all. Good. So if you're answering these questions on your own so far, you're able to answer even, let's say, 10 out of these or 15 out of these, somewhere in between, you're going on a good path. If you're able to answer all, that means you're going on an excellent path. Now let's understand, how does this work? So what does Laplace smoothing in Naïve Bayes mean? Naïve Bayes basically says, what is the probability of your target variable, whether it is yes or no, given that your different features, which it assumes to be independent, the input features have a particular value. They all have a particular value. Now, the formula for this would become Py upon P x1 given y, px2, because all these are independents, I can break px1 intersection x2 intersection x3 intersection x4 upon y to these. Px3 given y, similarly px4 given y will be there. Divided by p of x1, p of x2, p of x3, p of x4. Let's take a very simple example. Let's say x1 is mapping weather. How is the weather? In your data, you have rainy, you have sunny, you have overcast, which is just cloudy, nothing else. Let's say you have all of these. You have all of these. And for y, let's say is equal to yes, y is equal to yes, you have 10 of these. And for x1 equal to weather, for y is equal to no, let's say rainy, overcast, sunny, in total you have 5. Let's say you have total of these 5. Out of these, let's say rainy is 3, overcast is 3, sunny is 1, rainy is 2, overcast is 2, sunny is 1. Let's say that. But now what happens if I say the weather is snowy? Suddenly it starts snowing in Rajasthan, Delhi, Banaras. Just like we will get confused, our model will also get confused. So what the model will say is px1 given y, that is this one, will be x1 given y, which is, let's say yes, x1 will be, sorry, snowy, will be 0. I have no intersection. There is no snowy over here. It is 0. 0 by 10, 0. There is no intersection. For others, if it was rainy, it would be 3 by 10. So what I am saying is that the weather is snowy. The probability for weather to be snowy is 0 if y is equal to yes. Similarly, for y equal to no, there is no snowy. So px1 equal to snow for no is also 0. That means what? Whether I play golf or not, it does not matter. Given that I play golf, given that I don't play golf, the probability that it will snow is 0. That means you are saying that it can never snow. But it has just snowed down. Abhi to snow hui hai. Now that it has snowed, this assumption is completely wrong. So now what a lot of people do is, they say, okay, I will assign it to 1. Now if I'm assigning it to 1, I'm saying that it is always snowing. Whether I'm playing golf or not does not matter. The weather is always snowing. That is also wrong. So what happens is that what do we do in such cases is, whenever there is an unseen event that is happening, we say we'll take count of x and y intersection, right? I'm writing p of x1 given y. So we'll take count of x1 and intersection y. We'll add numerator as 1. We'll divide this by v, which is number of unique features, plus count of y. This becomes my formula. And this v basically is helping me in smoothing, avoiding 0 probability when there is an unseen event. Because this will become 0, but I'll still get 1 upon count of y plus some v. And this is called as Laplace smoothing. It is very important for naive Bayes. And I've covered all the important questions that might be asked, that why are you not assigning 0? Why are you not assigning 1? All the questions I've covered over here. Now I think I can move forward. If you have any doubts, please let me know. What happens to bias and variance when k increases? 20 seconds, more than enough to answer this particular question. What happens to bias and variance, guys, when there is an increase in k of k and n? Time is up. Can I please come get some answers from you all? Can I please get some answers? Bias increases, variance decreases. Good job, Gautam. Tanish, I don't think B is the correct answer. A is the correct answer. Correct, everyone. Good job. A is the correct answer. All right, now time for solutioning. All right. So over here, what is happening is, let's assume that we have n training data points and n is equal to 100. When n is equal to 100, what I'm saying is now that I'm doing it for two classes. Class 1 belongs, the class 1 in my training data, I have 80 records. Class 2 in my training data, I have, let's say, 20 records. I know it's an imbalanced data. Just for the sake of, for explanation, I'm making you understand. Now, what will happen is, when I say k is increasing, when I increase k, I take k now maximum. I take k as n. So now I will have 80 points of class 1 and I will have very few points of class 20, of class 2, which is only 20. Whenever a new test data point will come, as you know, KNN is a lazy learner algorithm and non-parametric algorithm. There is no training in KNN, right? Whenever a new test data point will come, what will be the answer? The answer will, because now your k is equal to n, you will consider all the neighbors and you will do majority voting, because your majority voting is saying that k is equal to 100, and out of these you know that 80 belong to class 1 and 20 belong to class 2, so majority of the neighbors are speaking 80. Just 10 more to go. And after 80, what will happen? Now, any new test point that will come, you will always predict 80. So you are taking an assumption that always go with highest class. How always go with class that has highest number of records, and that is why your bias is highest and variance is lowest. Now let's take an example where you take k is equal to 1. What will happen is, this training data point is closest to my test data, class 2. I have around more data points. By chance, because of noise, this comes in, I call it as 2. But when I feed a new training data, this point was not even there. Only the original points that we had were there. This noise got completely removed. So because I'm learning more noise, when my k is equal to 1, my variance is highest and my bias is lowest. So from going from k equal to 1 to n, I understand now that bias is increasing and variance is decreasing. I hope the answer is clear. I can move on to the next question. Next time I'll keep a few less questions. 25, more than enough. All right, any doubts? Please ask me. All right, a pretty simple question. Again, I think a very simple question. Can you please answer, everyone? A case-based question. And actually a very common question. In different forms, the same concept is asked in many online assessments. Can you help me understand what will be the answer? Please come up with answers. A simple question, yet sometimes we do make mistake in this. Sometimes we leave it thinking पता नहीं क्या बोल दिया है, समझ ही नहीं आया. It's pretty simple question. It's pretty simple question. Let's see what we can get from you all. C, good. Now let's solve it. C is the correct answer, everyone. Those who could not solve it, please have a look clearly over here. So what exactly is happening over here is that we are saying that there are 4 binary variables, basically which type of fuel: petrol, diesel, electric, hybrid. So my vehicle will only be able to take one of these, right? Or this, or this. But if I include all of these variables, I will have multicollinearity. Now, how will I have multicollinearity? Understand with the help of two variables. If there is a petrol, and you will have a VIF which is infinity. On these four variables, you will have a VIF which is infinity, because your TSS, which is total residual sum of square upon residual sum of square, total sum of square upon residual sum of square, this will become 0. And VIF will be infinity, saying that this data is highly multicollinear. I have shared you all on our WhatsApp channel the free document for multicollinearity. You all can have a read on this, how VIF will become 0. But now, moving on to an easier explanation, understand from Pearson's correlation. Petrol, and let's say only we have petrol and diesel, ignore for now all the others. Let's say there is only petrol and diesel existing in the world. None of the fuels are existing in the world other than that. So if petrol is 0, diesel is 1. If petrol is 1, diesel is 0. And that means I have high correlation between these two. If one increases, if one decreases, other increases. If this is 0, this is 1. If this is 1, this is 0. A perfect R equal to 1. And if I'm having a perfect R equal to 1, the assumption that assumption that I have that the data is collinear that the features should not be collinear breaks. That the features should not be multicollinear breaks. And hence, the model will suffer from perfect multicollinearity, making it unsolvable. Actually, making it unsolvable is just not answering it properly. Basically, all the coefficients that you calculate for your regressions, they do not make sense. You cannot interpret them because of assumption of additivity, and also because of one more reason. The another reason is that on just minute change in data, these coefficients will fluctuate a lot, making variance high, and your model perform bad. And hence, the model will suffer from multicollinearity. And what is the problem with it? Variance becomes high because on just slight changes of data, the coefficients start fluctuating a lot. And the other thing is that these coefficients are not interpretable. You cannot say that if y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1x, you cannot say that increase in x by 1 unit is increasing in y by beta 1. All this interpretation is lost. These interpretations might not be really true, because beta 2, x2, these are also impacting x1. And your assumption is that beta 1 x1 equal to y, beta 2 x2, all these are not causing any change. Apart, this x1 is what is only changing. 1 unit of change in x1, others are constant, then the increase in y is by beta 1. Y is equal to y plus beta 1. But our assumption will fail over here because x2 will increase on increase in y. Our multicollinearity will make these, hence beta 1 and beta 2, fail, because assumption that beta 1 is increase in y by increase in y when there is a 1 unit of increase in x1, given that the other variables are constant, fails. And that is the reason why C is the correct answer. All right, pretty good job, everyone. Let's move to the next question. Pretty simple question. 25 seconds is what it will take. Please try to answer. Eight more questions to go actually. Last one is for homework for you all. All right, so we have come to the time closing. And what is the answer? Can anybody please tell me what the answers are? So good questions from linear regression, covering all the nitty-gritties in here. The correct answer is A, homoscedasticity. The correct answer is homoscedasticity. This is residuals and this is your predicted values for y. Whenever you plot this graph, you will be able to judge heteroscedasticity and homoscedasticity. Now, why it is heteroscedasticity, why it is not heteroscedasticity, why it is homoscedasticity is because you might be getting confused that hey, the what is actually homoscedasticity first? Homoscedasticity means that the residuals have equal variance, and heteroscedasticity means that the residuals have unequal variance. Now, what a lot of people think is that this is the spread. It looks very, unequal, it is quite different spread out. So, what should I say now? Should it be equal? Should it be unequal? But we are not talking about this spread at all. What we are talking is spread across different values of y predicted. You see the spread for different values of y predicted is equal. And the reason that is why it makes it homoscedasticity, because the spread of residuals across different predicted values is same. It is same. And that is why it is homoscedasticity and not heteroscedasticity. If in case the funnel was like this, going up only, right? Going top only. But it was a funnel that is like this. If let's say it was a funnel like this, a funnel like started like this, then that means that over here the spread is different. The spread is different compared to the spread. The spread is unequal for residuals. The spread for residuals is unequal, and that is why in this case it would have been heteroscedasticity. Alright, so in this case the answer is homoscedasticity, because for each predicted y values the spread is nearly equal. And that is why whenever you want to identify homoscedasticity, it does not matter if the data is increasing or decreasing or it is constant. What matters is you need funnels, double-sided funnels, single-sided funnels, everything works. All right, moving on to the next question. Any doubts? Please let me know. Which of the following statements correctly describes variance inflation factor in the context of multicollinearity in regression analysis? I'll give you 35 seconds for this. 45 seconds, sorry, because reading, you need to read a bit more. And the previous question that we covered is actually a trick question that I've seen a lot of times in data analytics and data science tests. So I hope it's clear. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. Which of the following statements correctly describe variance inflation factor in the context of multicollinearity in regression analysis? VIF qualifies the correct correlation between each independent variable and the dependent variable, helping to identify potential outliers. All right. Okay, I'm just reading through the solutions. To the answer ones. High VIF indicates that an independent variable is highly correlated with other independent variables. Okay. All right. All right, people. Can you please tell me the answer? I think the time is up. Very good job. Very good job, everyone. Hello all, Suparna, Ishika Bhora. Very good job. So what exactly does a VIF do? So what exactly does a VIF do? A VIF tells you the multicollinearity. So Pearson's correlation helps you only justify the multicollinearity between two independent variables or two input features. But what VIF tells you is that for any independent variable, what is its multicollinearity with all the other independent variables? And how does it tell it? What VIF does is it plots a linear regression of x1 with some coefficients that it will calculate using all the other independent variables. Then it will calculate the R square. R square is nothing but explained variance. explained variance, which is equal to 1 minus RSS, which is unexplained variance, divided by TSS. Now VIF is what? 1 upon 1 minus R square, which is nothing but 1 upon 1 minus 1 plus RSS, changing the sign, which is nothing but this and this gone, TSS upon RSS. So VIF tells you that the total variance was this divided by the unexplained variance. This is what VIF tells you. So a high VIF indicates that an independent variable is highly correlated with other independent variables in model, suggesting potential multicollinearity issues. One more point on this is, I've explained you the VIF formula, how VIF works. The VIF can range from 0 to infinity. And 1 does not mean that the model is good. It does not mean that. So it should be between 0 to, it basically should be between 0 to, it is basically 0 to infinity. So generally you take a value of 10 to say that x1 is highly multicollinear with other independent features. So VIF generally 10 is said to be high collinear. 10 and above 10, you can drop those features or combine those features, right? So I think I've covered everything now, and overall model is not into consideration. So this point is gone, and over here as well, the other point is gone. Between each independent variable, no, it does not do between each independent variable. What it does is it takes all the independent variables, right? First of all, and again, the dependent variable, it does not take into account the dependent variable. So this is also wrong. So B is the correct answer. Now quickly, let's look at the next particular question. What is the key limitation of using R square to evaluate regression models? $20 seconds for it, everyone. Pretty simple. Pretty simple, everyone. 20 questions. 20 seconds, sorry. This is a very important question. Very, very important question for test. The correct answer for this is B. The timer is up. And the answer for this is B, because on increase in additional features, 1 second, let me just quickly write it. R square is nothing but 1 minus RSS upon TSS. And even though that feature does not add much information, is actually not very helpful, but it might still explain some variability. It might basically still explain some variability. If it is explaining some variability, even on addition, the unexplained variability reduces. And if unexplained variability is reducing, then this entire is reducing, which means R square is increasing. And R square, therefore, does not penalize for additional predictors. It does not take into account the penalty of adding new variables, because we are increasing the computation cost, we're increasing the computational power that is needed, plus we are also increasing the model complexity and curves of dimensionality will hit in. So it does not take into consideration this penalty. It says, okay, even if you're adding a new variable, some variation is explained, some variability is explained. So if you're able to explain some variability, I will increase R square no matter what. All right. So now moving to the next question. I hope it is clear. If any doubts, please let me know. All right. So this is a theoretical question. How would you ensure that in KNN, weights are given in data points that are closer? I will give you 45 seconds for this particular question. You can create a formula with 3k equal to 3. And because we are talking about distances, you can take distance as d1, d2, d3, and the value for those, let's think it's a regression, make it much more simpler. Let's think it's a regression. You want to predict the output value, giving more weight to the closer ones. Let's make it more simple for you all. It's a case of regression. k is equal to 3, can you construct a formula using 3 closest neighbors and their distances to give more weightage to the points that are closer? Anybody has any answers? Anybody has any answers? Anyone can answer this? The timer is up. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Think of it. It's very important. It's a very important question. Especially if you worked with KNNs. It's a very, very important question. All right, 5 more questions to go after this. One will be for your homework and we'll cover it in the next session first. First question to be covered in the next session, that will be that one. All right, so if you have not given me any answer so far, let's understand how it works. So basically, what you want to do is, you want to say that, okay, I have a test data point that is this one. I have a data point here, D1. I have a data point here, D2. And I have a data point over here, D3. D3. The distance is D3 basically. The distance is D1. The distance is D2. So what you want to do is, to this point 3, let's say the value is P3. This point 1, let's say the value is P1. And point 2, you want to give more weightage to P3. And we know in KNN, in regression, no, nothing like softmax, nothing you need to do. It's just a weighted average, guys, just a weighted average. So what you need to do is, in regression, we know the KNN will predict value, Y predict will be nothing but P1 plus P2 plus P3. That is Y actual value for 1, Y actual value for 2, Y actual value for 3, and divide this by 3. And that is how the KNN works. But you don't want to do this. You want to give more weightage to the point that is closer. So what a lot of people do is, they will say D1 into Y1 plus D2 into Y2 plus D3 into Y3 divided by 3. And what they will say is, this will give me the Y predicted value for this test data point. But this is wrong because, D1 plus D2 plus D3. This will also be D1 plus D2 plus D3, weighted average, right? So this is wrong because D1, D2 and D3 is like this. That means you're giving more weight, more class weight to Y1. You're giving more class weight to Y1. You can name it anything. सुपरनाम, नाम में कुछ नहीं रखा चीज़ों के, कॉन्सेप्ट्स में रखा है, बातों में रखा है. ये नाम नहीं भी जानते होगे ना, but if you can think properly, you can come to an answer. Alright, so Y1 I'm assigning more weight, this I'm assigning more weight, the point 1, this is wrong. I need to assign more weight to point 3. So I know that 1 upon D1, 1 upon D2, 1 upon D3 has an inverse relation. And hence I will have 1 upon D1, Y1, 1 upon D2, Y2, 1 upon D3, Y3 upon 1 upon D1, 1 upon D2, 1 upon D3. And I'm assigning this the maximum weight. Alright, pretty interesting question. Yes or no, everyone? Can I move forward? Any doubts? Please ask me. Explain the lines of box plot in case of outliers. Alright, so these are few concepts that are important that we are understanding now. As I told all of you that we'll be covering a few important concepts as we go along, not just questions, right? So I'll give you again 45 seconds to draw a box plot having outliers on maximum side as well as minimum side. Can you draw a box plot and tell me what are the 5 lines of the box plot? What are the lines in the case of box plot? All right, can you tell me what is the first line of the box plot from top? If maximum is on top, what is the first line of the box plot from top? For those who are not able to understand, work a bit. All right, can you think about it like that? What will be the first line? What will be the second line? What will be the third line? All right, time is up. Anybody got any answers? Anybody got any answers so far? Can you tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? What are those lines? All right. So in case when there are no outliers, I will have my minimum over here. My maximum is this line is maximum. Very good, kind of, Abhinav, you're thinking in the right direction. This will be my median, which is nothing but quartile 2. This will be my quartile 1, this will be my quartile 3. But when I am working with outliers, I know that this is my IQR, and my box plot is kind of based on IQR. And we also know that outliers are seen here. Then this will be my maximum. This is minimum. Let's see, there are no outliers here. This will be my minimum. But what is this line then? This line is upper fence, which we say that above this fence we have outliers, and upper fence is equal to a threshold basically, which is equal to Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR. This will be Q3, this will be Q2, this will be Q1. In case I have an outliers on this side, then this will be my minimum and this will be my lower fence, below which I say I have outliers, and the value of this is Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. This line becomes Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. A very important concept to understand. You can see it in tests, you can see it in interviews, everywhere. All right, any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll move to the next question. For which city the temperatures are more spread out in a week? I'll give you 45 seconds again for this question. Only 3 more questions left after this, everyone. 10 more minutes. Stay with me for 10 more minutes. Okay, Rubal. Good. Very good. Good. You're all doing correct. Ten more seconds. The timer is already up, guys. Giving 5 more seconds now. All right, let's solve. So now, this question is basically just to check the difference that you understand between range and IQR. If you understand the problem that range suffers from outliers, it is sensitive to outliers. This question is just based on that. If you organize this data, I think it's already sorted. The range for this is 35 minus 23, which is 12 for Delhi. For this also, it is 28 minus 16, which is nothing but 12. If you would have considered range and answered, you would have got the wrong answer. You would have got the wrong answer because if you understand on a number line, I have 23, then 25, then 28, then 32, then 33, then 35, like this. For this I have 16, 24, 26, 27, 28. This data is much more close compared to this data. Only because of an outlier, I would have said that these two are same, but they are not the same. Hence, why is IQR better? Because in this data I have an outliers, so I will use IQR. What will IQR do is, it will find the Q2 and Q3. So Q2 and Q3 will be what, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Divide the data into 2 equal halves. In this as well, you will divide the data into 4 quartiles, not equal halves, 4 parts. you will have data like this. Now that you have data like this, you can find Q1, you can find Q3. Over here as well, you can find Q1, you can find Q3, and you can see that the result for this and result for this, Pune will be smaller. And hence if IQR for Pune is smaller, that means that the temperatures for Delhi are more spread out. So you need to find Q3 minus Q1 for both of these. Alright, I'm not calculating Q3 minus Q1. I hope you all are pretty sufficient in calculating these yourself. I'll move to the next question. Okay, what is the probability that two chords drawn at a random in a circle intersect? I'll give you 45 seconds or 60 seconds to answer this particular question. If you're struggling, maybe draw a circle. Think how many points are needed to draw chords and draw different types of variations. Just like the 3-ant triangle problem, that there are 3 ants on all of the edge of the triangle, right? All of the corners of the triangle. Then they can move in anti-clockwise and clockwise direction. Then what is the probability that no collision happens, right? So this is just like that, a very important question. All right, so I think I've given enough time. Any answers? Somebody has given the fourth option, which is can't say. No, the answer is incorrect. The answer is actually, one second, sorry. We have a circle like this. You need how many points? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 points to draw 2 chords. Now, how many variations can you draw? One is this. Second is this. And third will be this. How many of these intersect? 1. How many total cases are possible? 1, 2, and 3. So the answer is 1 by 3. I hope it is clear, everyone. I'll move to the next question. Pretty simple question. You just have to draw and think of it, kind of like more of, PNC in drawing. The answer over here is given 2 by 3. I think it's wrong, but it is definitely wrong. The answer will be 1 by 3. In case the question is asked how many of them do not intersect, then it will be 2 by 3, right? What is the probability that they do not intersect? All right, question number 28, second last question. I'll give you only 30 seconds are more than enough to answer this particular question. All right, timer is up. Do I have answers, everyone? Do I have answers? Good job. Now I'll quickly summarize it. So in a linear regression with regularization, in your cost function, you have OLS, which is nothing but y actual minus y predicted for all I data points, I going from 1 till n, you add the square of it. Plus, when you apply regularization, you add the coefficients. Basically, if your linear regression is y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2, then what you will do is you will add beta naught, beta 1 and beta 2. In ridge regularization, you add them using square. In lasso, you add only the absolute values. So now I will take sum of all coefficients from 1 till 0 till k, because we have 0 as well, and I will take the sum of all these beta j coefficients and take the square of those. The hyperparameter lambda belongs here. Now, if I increase the lambda even more, then that means if lambda tends to infinity, all my coefficients need to be 0. All the coefficients need to be 0 so that my cost function can be minimum. From extreme cases I'm talking about to help you understand. If my lambda tends to infinity, to make my cost function minimum, my betas will be 0. That means y is equal to 0 will be the answer. I'm assuming that everything becomes 0. Such kind of a model is a very simple model. That means high bias and low variance. High bias and low variance. So as you understand that if for lambda equal to infinity, as I'm going forward, my bias will increase and my variance will decrease. I hope this is clear. Now I'll move forward. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Moving to the last question now. All right. Last question. Please type it in the chat. What is the order of execution? You have 45 seconds. All right, 60 seconds because you need to type over here. "60 seconds, folks. For those, basically, what is the order of execution in SQL means? Whether from comes first, whether select comes first, where does on comes, where does join come, where do window functions come, where do group by, having, where do these all come? Can you tell me in what order does SQL execute? What you write is different. What you write is completely different. But in what order does SQL execute? In what order does SQL execute? Good job, Ishika. Can you also figure out where does select, window functions, on and join come into picture? That is wrong, Uma. So the correct answer, everybody, now the time is up, I've given you some more time, is first the data is selected. The entire table is selected. Please understand I'm giving you a visual map now. Then if you have any more data to join, the data joining happens. On selects this data, then joining happens, and your final join data is ready. Right? Join data is ready. Now, what will happen is, on this data, where will work? Where will work on this data? How will where work? Where will filter the rows that you will select. It will say, okay, You will not select these rows. These rows are useless. You only select these rows. Then on these filtered rows, group by works. Data on these rows is divided into groups. Now, having works and it removes groups. I don't want this group. Filter the groups. Difference between where and having. Where keeps a group, having filters the groups. Where filters the rows, sorry, and having filters the groups. Therefore, where cannot have aggregate functions and having can have aggregate functions and can only have aggregate functions. After having, now your case statements, your window functions, whatever you have written will execute. Whatever you have written will execute. After select whatever you write, right? Case and your everything that you write works. Window, all of these works. Then your data is finally selected and it is shown to you. In case any order by and limit needs to be done, so then order by happens after select and then limit happens and data is shown to you. As simple as that. Please remember this mind map, very important for tests, very important again for interviews as well. I think that is end to today. Any questions you have, please feel free to ask me. Anybody have any questions? Till then, I'll show you the question that you need to solve as homework. In the next session, we'll be solving it using various different ways. One using window functions, one using subquery, one using correlated subquery, one using CTE. All right, anybody has any questions? All right, window functions we'll cover, don't worry. Don't worry, this question I'll teach you with window functions. There will be a lot of window function questions coming soon. Today, as you can see, we focus more on statistics, machine learning, and a bit of Python and what do we call this? SQL was covered, right? So we'll dive much deeper into it. Don't worry, just keep attending the sessions. Anybody has any other doubt, please let me know. We had a today of session of approximately 3 hours and you all stay till the end. Thank you very much. If I could help you in any way, please do hit the subscribe button. It's just a click for you, but means a lot for us as a team, for me myself. It gives me the motivation to keep bringing you much better of it, much better things. Today we covered easy and moderate questions. You guys got to learn at least 2 to 3 new things. 4 to 5 misunderstandings, misconceptions were cleared, right? And we'll keep doing it. So any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you all have a good day. Keep working hard. Be that data scientist and data analyst that understands things in depth from research papers, from industries, not from just simply reading, basic blogs. That will not take us far. All right, so take care, everyone. I'm signing off. Have a good day and see you tomorrow for the interview prep.